between. It's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
I hate everything about this Brian Shapiro guy.
This show will make you laugh, make you cry, and it might raise Brian's blood pressure.
You know what, dude? People like you, all you do is make excuses for the orange turd, and I've had it.
Buckle up, because it's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
You're different. I like you.
Now, here's Brian.
What's up, everybody? A very happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Is today Wednesday or Tuesday? I forget what day it is. I don't even know. It's Tuesday. I'm lost, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I have an excuse. I'll get to that. But you could be listening on the FMAM dial, KSHP. Of course, you could be on the Occupy Democrats Network, the Washington Press Network. Of course, Brian Shapiro, pushingthelimits.live. Check out that website as well. I didn't think I was going to be here today. Last night, I was getting ready to put the show together, and all of a sudden, I probably had the worst kidney stone of my life. I've had them before, so I almost went to the hospital. It was 5 hours of agony, and I canceled the show last night. And then when I woke up this morning, I was feeling okay. I was going to take the day off today, but I'm here because of the big news, because of Harris picking somebody that I think a lot of people did not think she was going to pick. So we want to talk about that coming up here in a few minutes. Grant Stern from Occupy Democrats will be joining us, but I'm not going to hold back here. I'm going to give you my honest opinions because I always do. Number one, I was very surprised. Number two, Walz is a good man. His dad was in the Army and he served in the National Guard for over 20 years. I was doing some research on his life. He taught social studies for 20 years. He seems like he's a really good man and he's been a really good governor, but this doesn't make sense mathematically to me. And that's why Grant Stern's going to be joining us in a few minutes. But it doesn't make any sense to me because Minnesota hasn't had a Republican leading that state in 50 years? Or I should say for the presidency, 50 years. They haven't voted Republican. And Kamala Harris was going to win Minnesota no matter what. It's pretty much a lock. So why wouldn't you go with Josh Shapiro? I don't understand that mathematically. Now, this is the only thing that makes sense to me because I absolutely believe that Kamala Harris was going to pick Josh Shapiro. But I look at Josh Shapiro's statement that he put out earlier today, and it sounded to me that he wanted to remain the governor of Pennsylvania. You look at the statement that he put out there, and you can say what you want. I believe that Shapiro wanted to remain the governor. Now, publicly, he's not going to say, I didn't want to be vice president under Kamala Harris. I personally believe, based on the statement that he put out there, if you can read between the lines, he wanted to remain governor of Pennsylvania, and I don't blame him for that. So I think this was the number two choice. I also think that Kelly would have been a better choice. And again, I'm not trying to poo-poo on Walz. I think he's a really good governor. He's a really good guy. He's very solid, and I hope it works out. But I think Kelly would have been a better pick. I think Bashir would have been a better pick. I could name you 3 or 4 Democrats right off the bat that I think would have been better picks. I think Pete Buttigieg would have been a better pick. Do I dislike this guy? Absolutely not. I think he's a good man who has a good track record, but the attacks on the right, listen, the attacks on the right are going to be coming. And what are you going to hear nonstop until November? Well, I'm going to give you a little taste of that right now. So this is J.D. Vance, who was asked about the pick earlier today. And again, this is a microcosm of what Republicans are going to be saying about Governor Walz. Going to be attacking him mainly for what took place in Minnesota during the George Floyd riots. Listen to what J.D. Vance had to say about the pick. Okay, so most of that was a complete and total lie. He is not for defunding the police. He voted for a bill to allocate funds to other precincts that need better training. He did not reallocate defunding the police. Now, some people didn't get that audio for whatever reason, so we are going to play that audio again for you because I think it's important. This is J.D. Vance again, because I don't know if that went out over the air, but it certainly didn't go out to the social media platforms that you're listening to, so we apologize for that. We will play that again. This is J.D. Vance responding to the Walz pick. Have a listen to this.
Kamala Harris that she doesn't care about the border, she doesn't care about crime, she doesn't care about American energy, and most importantly, she doesn't care about the Americans who have been made to suffer under those policies.
So again, defunding the police, not true. It's not true. Walz did not vote or pass a bill to try and defund police. What he did was he tried to reallocate funds from one police precinct to the other. That's not defunding the police. As far as allowing rioters, that is also a blatant lie. He never endorsed riots. He never endorsed violence. And he never said anybody who rioted or broke the law should not be held to the highest extent of the law. But these are the types of attacks you are going to hear from the far right. They're going to lie about this guy, Walz. They're going to say he wanted to defund the police. They're going to say that he allowed rioters. Not true. I would, to the contrary, say that Donald Trump allowed rioters on January 6th, but you'll never hear some fool like J.D. Vance ever make a statement like that, or quite frankly, any MAGA supporter. Walz wasn't sitting on his ass while people died the way Donald Trump did on January 6th for 4.5 hours. So this is a blatant lie. It's certainly not true. It's not true. It's absolutely 100% not true. So I'm surprised. I did not expect this to happen. I believe that Shapiro was absolutely the choice of Kamala Harris. I'm not sure Shapiro wanted the job. And when you look at the statement that Shapiro made on social media, the official statement from the governor, it sounded to me that he really didn't have his heart in it, and he really wanted to remain the governor of Pennsylvania, which, again, I can't blame him for, but Shapiro would have been a slam dunk. I hope I'm wrong, but I am a little nervous. Not because I don't think Walz will do a good job on a debate stage. I just don't think this gives the Democrats the jump that they needed. This is my personal opinion. Is he a much better person, a better candidate? Of course he is, than J.D. Vance. I mean, that goes without saying. That's a very low bar. I think Walz is a good man. He's done a lot of good things in Minnesota. He's a well-liked governor. He's got he's a hero. He's a veteran. He's a former teacher. He knows how to govern. He's got a ton of experience. He's a good man. Those are a lot of positive qualities. This is nothing I am taking away from Walz. Nothing I'm taking away from him. Not taking away anything from him. I think he's got a great resume. The problem I have is that I think there were other choices that would have been better mathematically. Mathematically would have been better. That's my personal opinion. So this is the commercial that they put out there. This is the commercial that the Harris-Walz campaign now put out. And this is Walz talking a little bit about himself and how he wants to move the country forward. Have a listen to this.
Sometimes life is as much about the lessons you learn as the lessons you teach. When I grew up, community was a way of life. My high school class was 24 people. I was related to half of them. I learned to be generous towards my neighbors, compromise without compromising my values, and work for the common good. My dad was in the Army, and with his encouragement, I joined the Army National Guard when I was 17. I served for 24 years. I used my GI benefits to go to college and become a public school teacher. I coached football and taught social studies for 20 years. And I tried to teach my students what small-town Nebraska taught me: respect, compromise, service to country. And so when I went into government, that's what I carried with me. I worked with Republicans to pass an infrastructure bill, cut taxes for working families, signed paid leave into law. I codified abortion rights after Roe got overturned. Because I go to work for the common good. But enough about me. Let's talk about you. Because that's what this election is about. It's about your future. It's about your family. And Vice President Harris knows that. We too grew up in a middle-class family. He too goes to work every day, making sure families can not just get by, but get ahead. We believe in the promise of America, in those values I learned in Nebraska, and we're ready to fight for them. Because as Kamala Harris says, when we fight, we win.
All right, that's all good, right? It's all good. But I have some of the same concerns like a Van Jones has. And this is what Van Jones had to say live on CNN earlier today. And I echo exactly what Van Jones said, but have a listen to him.
Do you think it was a little risky, though, Van, that she didn't go with Shapiro to kind of lock down Pennsylvania? I mean, yes, David Chowling was saying earlier, just because you pick him as your running mate doesn't mean you automatically win Pennsylvania. But I got to think it would have helped just a little bit.
Hey, listen, the conservatives, the right wing, the Republicans, they were chewing their fingernails down to the knuckle because they were afraid of a Josh Shapiro. They were afraid of a Mark Kelly. They're not as afraid of this new governor because they think they can define him. So here's the challenge you've got in this party. And people don't want to talk about it. We got to talk about it. On the one hand, you have a lot of young people who are concerned about Gaza. You have a lot of Muslims and Arabs and others. They have not felt seen by the Biden administration. You start hearing that genocide joke. That was building. And so those folks needed to have a candidate that they could feel comfortable with. This helps them in that regard. But you also have anti-Semitism that has gotten marbled into this party. You can be for the Palestinians without being an anti-Jewish bigot, but there are some anti-Jewish bigots out there. And there's some disquiet now, and there has to be. How much of what just happened is caving into some of these darker parts in the party? So that's going to have to get worked out.
I agree. That's something that I haven't talked about. Do I think Kamala Harris is anti-Semitic? Absolutely not. There are some on the fringe far left that are. And there are some on the fringe far left that did not want Harris to pick Shapiro because he's Jewish. Those people are idiots. That's something else that needs to be talked about. I'm not saying, and I am not even insinuating, that the reason why Harris did not go with Shapiro is because of that reason. I'm not saying that at all. But there are those on the fringe left that did not want Shapiro to be picked because of his last name, because he's Jewish. That's a problem. I personally believe, and again, I could be wrong on this, but I personally believe that Shapiro did not want the job. I personally believe that it was a mutual agreement that he wanted to remain the governor of Pennsylvania. I think Shapiro could be one hell of a president one day. He's a great governor. But I personally believe that this could be, and I hope I'm wrong, and we'll get calls today, and I'm sure we'll have plenty of people out there that will disagree with me, which is fine. All I'm simply saying is this could be a mistake. I don't think this moves the needle at all for Kamala Harris, and you needed the needle to be moved. Said the same thing about J.D. Vance. In fact, I said this hurts the Republicans. I don't know if this hurts the Democrats. I think Walz is very capable. I'm not sure it helps them. And this has nothing to do with me and my personal feeling. I think Walz is a great man. And in my personal opinion, I think he'll destroy J.D. Vance. He's smarter. He has a better record. More experience. But at the same time, does this really continue the momentum for Democrats? I think we have to ask that question as well. Now, listen, Donald Trump's only statement was thank you. He put on Truth Social. I really don't care what Donald Trump's reaction is to this. All I'm simply saying is that this could be a mistake. I know we had some technical difficulties a little bit earlier. So get used to this, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to hear the attacks from the far right all day today and probably until November. This is J.D. Vance. And again, we had some technical difficulties earlier. This is J.D. Vance, Donald Trump's vice presidential running mate, criticizing Walz in the pick. Have a listen to this.
This is a guy who's proposed shipping more manufacturing jobs to China, who wants to make the American people more reliant on garbage energy instead of good American energy, and has proposed defunding the police just as Kamala Harris does. I think it's interesting, actually. They make an interesting tag team because, of course, Tim Walz allowed rioters to burn down Minneapolis in the summer of 2020, and then the few who got caught, Kamala Harris helped bail them out of jail. So it is more instructive for what it says about Kamala Harris, that she doesn't care about the border, she doesn't care about crime, she doesn't care about American energy, and most importantly, she doesn't care about the Americans who have been made to suffer under those policies.
Obviously, that's nothing but a bunch of lies. We know that. We know that. We've been hearing this from the far right for how long now? Since the George Floyd protests, Black Lives Matter protests, that, Walz, they want to defund the police. No, they don't. What Joe Biden was for and what many of the Democrats are for were reallocating funds to other precincts that need better training. That is not defunding the police. Defunding the police would be take money away from police and put it towards other, reasons, other causes, for lack of a better term. That is not what Kamala Harris stands for. That is not what this guy Walz stands for either. Now, I also have to be honest with you. And again, I'm not going to lie. I thought Walz was older than 60 years old, all due respect. I thought he was in his 70s. I really did. But he is 60 years old, which I think is, it's right around where Kamala Harris's age is. So I'm not going to use the term he's too old, because he's not. The man is 60 years old, so I really don't have a problem with that. I told you what I have a problem with. They are going to win Minnesota no matter what. So I don't know how this helps the Democrats mathematically. That's a head scratcher to me. Why not go with somebody like Kelly? Let's just assume for a moment that Shapiro didn't want the job, which I think is probably true. Why not go with somebody like Kelly to help you in Arizona? I don't understand that. And Kelly would be a phenomenal pick. I've been saying that for a long time now, who his wife is, what he's done in Arizona. It just doesn't, I don't know, something doesn't make sense to me. Am I wrong? It doesn't make sense to me. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take some phone calls on the other side. I want to know what you guys think. Do you disagree with me? Listen, I say things on the air sometimes. Some people agree, some people disagree. I think Walz is a really good man. I think he's been a really good governor. This pick doesn't make mathematical sense to me. It doesn't make sense. Something happened in the last couple days, and I think it was Shapiro that did not want it. That's what I think. I've heard from really good sources, people that I talked to, they wanted Shapiro. The Harris campaign, they wanted Shapiro. So what do you think about this? 702-221-7283. And again, that number, 702-221-7283. We'll take a break. We'll be right back with your phone calls. It's Pushing Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Workers have been hit hard over the past few years. From the pandemic to inflation, it has often felt like we can't get ahead. Too many of us are struggling to afford rent, food, and other basic necessities. We need leaders who know that our country depends on us, the workers. If we succeed, everyone else succeeds. Our choice is clear this November. We must elect leaders who support our crucial role in this country. And that is not Donald Trump. Paid for by Battleborn Progress.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey accumulates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com and get started.
Hello, I'm Ron Quince, and I'm running for Congress as a nonpartisan candidate in District 1. I'm dedicated to serving our entire community. In this challenging time, it's more important
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, the news this morning, Kamala Harris picking Governor of Minnesota, Mr. Walz, as her vice presidential running mate. I gave you the positives and negatives, at least in my mind, of how I feel about this pick. But now let's maybe get another perspective. Let's talk to Grant Stern from Occupy Democrats, who joins us right now on PTL. Grant, good to see you, my friend. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Sorry about that. We're doing okay. So what was your first reaction when you
This is
heard...
a wonderful. It's a wonderful pick, man.
You think so? Tell me why.
Well, I'll tell you this. Do you guys hear me okay over there right now?
Yep. Got you loud and clear.
All right. There's some sort of problem here with my system. I'm getting a lot of feedback. How about that? Why don't you give me a second to check this out? And,
Sure.
And I'll check back in a minute with you guys.
No problem. Grant Stern. That's
I'll be
okay.
right back.
No problem. So we'll get his answer to that. We're having some technical difficulties today. I don't know why, but we'll figure that out. I'm not going to sit here and lie. Why don't we take some phone calls before we get to Grant? I'm not going to sit here and lie. I think this could be a mistake. I've given you my reasons for that, but there are people that are waiting on hold, so I want to get to them first. Let's go to Damon. Damon is first up on PTL. Hi, Damon.
All right. I wasn't shocked. I think it was the right decision because Shapiro seems to be too much like Obama. And I don't think that people want that this time around. I think that people are looking for, this is we're in a different era.
Okay,
We need
so
somebody
tell
who's
me,
more scrappy.
what do you mean by
We need
that?
somebody who's more scrappy.
I hear you. What do you mean by that, though, when you say he's too much like Obama? Like, give me an example of what you mean. Because I don't know
Well,
what
you know, Obama he's the great communicator. He's he had a certain ease about him, but we're up against a monster in Donald Trump. And this is a person who we need to take that out as soon as we possibly can. And the only way to do that.
But why is that a bad thing to be a great communicator? I'm just trying to understand your frame of mind.
Because people are not listening the way that they used to. People are sort of saying, well, I'm just going to ignore the fact that this person is a criminal, that this person has been convicted of multiple convictions as a criminal, and we're just going to completely act as though as though this doesn't exist. That's why I think we need a person who can fight fire with fire. More of this nice stuff.
I hear you, but don't you think Shapiro is more aggressive? I think most people would characterize Shapiro as much more aggressive in a personality, which is what we need, than somebody like Walz. Not that I don't respect Walz, I do.
I don't think he's that aggressive, but I don't think he's like that. I think he's too much like how Obama was, where it's that it's respectability politics. And I think that we need somebody who's going to guard the grill and knuckle up and take Donald Trump and JD Vance out.
You think Walz is the personality that would do that, and you don't think Shapiro is? Is that what I'm getting from
Yes,
you?
I've heard him. Have you seen him be combative on Fox News? He's no joke.
I don't disagree with you, and I haven't said one negative thing about this guy because I think he's a good man. He's a good governor. I hear where you're going. Here's what I would ask you. How does this make sense mathematically? I say we because I'm an anti-Trumper. We are going to win Minnesota anyway. They haven't voted in a Republican in 50 years. This doesn't make any sense. You have to win Pennsylvania. Go ahead.
But Pennsylvania. But here's the thing: Shapiro is still going to be a surrogate for her. So we will. He can still get Pennsylvania for her.
Sure, that's a given. I agree. That's a given. But I just personally feel like, and again, I know we disagree, which is fine. I want to hear from all of you guys, but I think this could. I didn't say it was a mistake. I said it could be a mistake, and I am very interested to see in the next week how they campaign together. I personally believe that Shapiro did not want the job. I don't think there's any way. I don't think there's any way. I'll maybe put it at 1% that Kamala Harris said, you know what? I'm going to pick Walz over Shapiro. I don't think that's what happened. I think in the last couple of days, they had a conversation, and I saw Shapiro's comment, and it sounded like he didn't want the job. It sounded to me, my read on the situation is that he wanted to remain the governor of Pennsylvania, and he wants to be the main guy in 4 years. He wants to run for president of the United States. That's what it felt like to me. Is that, you get me on that one?
Yes, I kind of get, I do understand. I get it because I think that he has grander ambitions.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to be second.
Right.
He doesn't want to be second to her. I think that he has an idea of what he wants to do.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. But I think Walz is okay with being second and being the boxer for her.
Well,
He's
you know
okay with being the person that goes out there and fighting for her.
The good news, and Damon, I appreciate your call, and I hope you're right. The good news about this is that we are going to find out in a couple months. I hope I'm wrong, but I think we're bringing Grant Stern from Occupy Democrats back on. Grant, can you hear us okay?
Much better now.
All right. You sound great, too. I appreciate it. We'll get back to the phone calls here in a few minutes, but right now joining us, Grant Stern from Occupy Democrats. Okay, Grant, I'll go by that first question that I asked you a few minutes ago. You're excited about this pick? You think it's a great pick? Tell us why.
I think Damon said it all. I'll be out of here now. It's true. He's really good, man. So, I mean, for starters, I want you to think back to past Democratic picks, right? The idea that you pick somebody because they're going to win their state is not actually the point of a lot of choices for vice president. That's not their role either, right? And it doesn't matter whether they're from a state that they've been elected or not. I mean, if they're an elected official, by design, their state is voting for people in your party. In Minnesota, Governor Walz has been uniquely successful, right? But it's not just about Minnesota. It's about regional appeal. because this is a national race and you have to talk to people throughout the region. So this is a pick that resonates a lot in the blue wall states in the northern part, in the, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan. Obviously, Illinois is going to vote Democrat, but it's not about winning one particular state. That's first of all. So if you base everything on that, I think you're missing the bigger picture. Look at Mike Pence. They were going to win Indiana in 2016. Look at Joe Biden, right? That was a pick where they were hoping that maybe they'd win Pennsylvania as well, but that's not Joe Biden's literal home state. He's from Delaware. He lives in Delaware, right? So you can't be like too in the box about these picks when it comes to numbers and geography and math. It's more about who do they appeal to within the party, and can they do the job of the number 2 person, which is not actually as easy as it looks, even though it's not as high profile, but it's a very specific political niche. And I think that Tim Walz fills it well as the first pick by the Democratic Party for a vice presidential nominee that is not from one of the 2 coasts, or a presidential nominee that besides Obama. Right?
Well, okay, so I hear what you're saying.
In the last 20 years.
So the way I've characterized this, and we might disagree a little bit on this, I'm not saying it's a mistake. I'm saying it could be a mistake. I'm not saying
everything can be a mistake.
Well, of course.
You only find out later.
Right, of course. He's a good guy with a great record. He's a good governor. I haven't said anything negative about this man. I think he's a really good man, a family man. I respect his service to the country, being a teacher for 20 years. He's got a lot of positives. All I'm simply saying is I personally believe I could name you 3 people that in my opinion, would have been a better pick. I'm not saying he's a horrible pick. Would have been a better pick. Beshear, Shapiro, and Kelly in Arizona. I think those 3 picks would have been better.
Well, you know what? It's not about better. It's about who fits well with the candidate, and also who balances the ticket with their fit on the ticket. I mean, I think that those are important factors that go beyond just the resumes and accomplishments and titles and location and all that stuff. Not everybody is right as a group, right?
Right.
Not everybody gets along really naturally. But in this case, I feel like Tim Walz brings an unusual amount of balance to the ticket as someone, again, not from one of the coasts, a first for a vice presidential nominee for the Democratic Party since 1996 when Al Gore was the vice presidential nominee.
Small town Nebraska. I looked up his history. It comes from a small town in Nebraska, hardworking family. Listen, those are all positives. I'm with you 150%. But it is also my opinion, and you can tell me whether you disagree. I think something happened here in the last couple days. You have sources. I have sources. They wanted Shapiro. I personally believe that Shapiro didn't necessarily want it. He wanted to remain, which I understand. He wanted to remain the governor of Pennsylvania. I looked at his statement this morning, and it seemed to me that he was concerned about his state still, and he wanted to remain governor of Pennsylvania and maybe look forward to the future. Am I wrong in assuming that?
I would say that that's a calculation that I'm sure they've probably discussed. I mean, think about it. Tim Walz has had 6 years as governor, right?
Right.
So I don't think that there's term limits. I think there are term limits in Minnesota, excuse me. So you have to look at it that way too. He's walking away from the last 2 years of lame duck term, but he's accomplished most of what he came there to do.
Yeah.
Whereas Josh Shapiro just got in the governor's office 2 years ago after being attorney general, and there's a lot more that he could do. So there's timing is everything. Not everybody's going to be the right fit.
I understand.
But just hear me out. Josh Shapiro provides very little contrast to Kamala Harris. And that's why Tim Walz is, I think, a really good fit, because he provides a lot of contrast. She's the prosecutor. He's the football coach. I mean, both of them are prosecutors, Shapiro and Kamala Harris. And so, not as much contrast there.
Might be true. But, again, the left is going to have to deal with the attacks. I've already heard it from J.D. Vance and other Republicans. He allowed Minnesota to go on fire during the George Floyd, the Black Lives Matter protest. And and wanted to defund the police, which, by the way, is a lie. That's not true. But let me take
That's
it.
of course a lie. But
Yeah.
he's the governor of Minnesota, not the governor of Minneapolis.
Correct. And I think that's important to note. And I'm sure he'll say that on a debate stage against J.D. Vance. But I will say this, Grant, the far extreme left, there is an extreme part of both parties. Probably
you know
more.
what? The far extreme left doesn't vote for Democrats. Okay. They vote for Jill Stein and whatever other crazy person, floats their boat. I mean,
Perhaps. I'm not saying you're wrong on that, Grant. All I'm simply, and CNN talked about this yesterday, there is a portion of the Democrat Party that did not want a Jewish vice president. And, again, that's something that the party's going to have to deal with. There's anti-Semitism on both sides.
I don't think that's the main, that if that was the driving factor, then Kamala Harris would not have clinched the nomination already. She's married
I'm not saying
to,
it was.
to Douglas Emhoff.
Of course, her husband's Jewish. I'm not saying that she did that. Yeah, of course.
I know that there's a lot of people saying that because it's bullshit. And frankly, people are saying it because they're just trying to will it to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are Republicans, right? Mm-hmm. This is just like the blood libel against the Democratic Party.
Right.
I mean, you're talking about the administration today that has the most members of the cabinet in American history of Jewish faith or descent.
Sure.
Right. So you hear this bile being spewed by people who are actual anti-Semites, but there's a lot of people that have a very unusual agenda for Israel, right? It's well known. It's a religious agenda, and it's based on the idea that Israel is going to cause the rapture. And that's, what a lot of people have acted upon. You don't have to take my word for it. There's documentaries about this stuff and the rise of the Christian nationalist right in America.
Listen,
that's where that narrative comes from, and you could bury it right there. It's worth nothing.
And again, Kamala Harris's husband happens to be Jewish, and in no way, shape, or form would I ever insinuate any anti-Semitism from her or any of the Democrats that are in leadership. There's always going to be extremists on both sides. And again, I'm not attacking Walz in any way, shape, or form. I think he's a really good man with a great record. I was just a little bit surprised today. That's all.
Look, the Democratic Party is a big tent. We have people in there that we disagree with. Right. I mean, it's just that simple. But those people are there because everybody can disagree agreeably.
Sure.
Okay. Everybody can agree that someone is entitled to their own opinion, right?
Sure.
It's not their own facts.
Sure.
And that's the Democratic Party way. So you're going to have some people you disagree with. That's just life.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. What do you want to see from the Harris-Walz campaign this week? This is a big week for them. I think we all could agree. They're coming to Vegas. I'm going to be going to that event on Saturday. They're all over the country here in the next week. What is the message that you want to hear from Harris and Walz as they do this tour?
Look, the message that I want to hear from Harris and Walz is what are their plans for the future, for the care economy, for America, for everybody in America.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that they've been working pretty hard on those plans because Democrats actually do things to help Americans with the power entrusted in them from our democracy. Unfortunately, with Republicans, you see a lot of self-enrichment. And that's going to be the contrast that I think and expect to see them to drive home, that Democrats are working for all of us, Republicans are working for themselves. And when you look at a guy like J.D. Vance, who wrote the foreword to the Project 2025 Foundation's president to his book, right? When you see the guy who's that close to Project 2025 and there they are lying about Project 2025, that's their plan. I mean, we're talking about a political party on the other side that wrote 20 bullet points as their entire political platform.
Yeah, it's crazy. You're not going to get an argument from me there, Grant. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Obviously, I hope it works out because even though I'm not a registered Democrat, we are both on the same team here. I want anyone in there but Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. That would be a disaster for the country. Kamala Harris is a very educated, very intelligent, and very capable woman. I respect Walz's service to the country. He looks like he's lived a very honorable life. He's a very intelligent guy, and I hope it works out. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope you're right. And I think this week is a very important week for the campaign. And I guess we'll just have to wait and see how this thing plays out. But Walz is her vice presidential nominee. And I can't wait to hear that debate between Walz and J.D. Vance, because I think he'll destroy Vance, because I don't think Vance is a very intelligent person.
Well, let me say this. The campaign is just about to start the formal rollout tonight.
Right.
So you're going to have a pretty good idea within about 8
true.
hours.
Very true.
Right? Actually, it's about
Philadelphia.
5:30 Eastern.
Yep.
So it's within about 3 hours.
Yep.
You can have a really good idea of why they chose this guy. And I'm going to tell you why Tim Walz is the ultimate regular guy, because he is. He's just a regular dude.
Yep.
He's done incredible things. And that's what makes him a great American. That's why he's going to be a lot of fun to watch on the national stage. And frankly, again, we're talking about a presidential race. Tim Walz is not going to drag this ticket down. That's the only thing you don't want from your vice presidential nominee. You don't want somebody that's going to drag you down.
And I think it would be fair to say J.D. Vance is certainly doing that with the Trump side.
I'll tell you, this is not the first time I've seen something like this happen. In fact, it's not the first time even in the last 5 years. And I saw it happen in my home state of Florida.
Right.
Yeah, no, seriously. Do we have a couple of minutes?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, sure.
So I'll tell you, in the state of Florida, in 2014, we had a very close governor's race between Rick Scott, who was an incumbent, and Charlie Crist, who had left the Republican Party after having served as governor from 2006 to 2010. He also went the attorney general to governor pipeline, right? He switched parties. He lost by 30,000 votes, something like that. I mean, very, very small margin in a big state like Florida.
Right.
And became a representative, and everybody loves Charlie, but, it's tough to lose the statewide election and then come back and try it again. But he did. It's not impossible, but it's difficult in the beginning. But then he chose, and his campaign chose, this wonderful, wonderful person named Carla Hernandez-Matz, who I think actually is a very nice person as an individual, but who had a lot of skeletons in her closet. And it caused a lot of problems for the party. And 3 weeks later, there was Charlie on national television with The View. And they asked him, why'd you choose her? And all he could say was, well, I chose her because of my heart. And I was like, that's a nice answer. But the reality is that I knew people who were not happy with her here, really not happy.
Right.
And I feel like it consumed his campaign. And when your choice consumes your campaign for 2 to 3 weeks, your choice of running mate, it creates a negative spiral. And that's what happened to the Crist Hernandez campaign. And
makes sense.
We all saw the rest. I mean, we have to be honest about these things when they happen and say that mistakes happen. And that's what happened in Florida. And I think that it led people to have a false impression of how strong Ron DeSantis would be as a presidential nominee.
Right.
When it wasn't just about him. But, I mean, that's the worst thing you can have a number 2 person do. Tim Walz is absolutely not going to do that. I expect a really decent bump in the polls from her choice of Tim Walz and after the convention. And
I hope so.
We'll see how it goes from there. But, we've seen the trend lines moving strongly in all of the polling and all the aggregates and all the predictions towards the Harris campaign.
Yes.
And I just don't see anything about Tim Walz that's going to change that narrative. I think he's going to actually give her a really good bounce because he's a really good guy. And
I hope so. Grant, I hope you're right. There might only be one other person in this country that hates Donald Trump more than I do, and that would probably be Melania Trump. Maybe you. You're probably up there as well. But
she has a better contract with him. You should really work on your contract with him.
That's right. I had John DiDomenico, the Trump impersonator, on. People thought that was actually Donald Trump, and he verified it. Yes, they do have a contractual marriage, and people believe that, and I believe that as well. Grant, you are the best, my friend. I love what you guys do over there at Occupy Democrats. Keep up the great work, my friend. I certainly hope you're right. You make a lot of sense, and we will talk to you soon, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, have a great one, Brian.
All right, you too. That's Grant Stern with the Occupy Democrats Network joining us. And I want to tell you guys this portion of the program is brought to you by Battleborn Progress. Education is a fundamental right in the country. Donald Trump endorses school choice and other voucher scheme. We need leaders who understand public money needs to stay in our public schools, and we need leaders to know that this country depends on us, the workers. Check them out for more information. Great organization, battlebornprogress.org. moreandprogress.org. I know we have a lot of people waiting on hold. Joining us in studio right now, though, she's been very patient, of course. My friend Ilana Dropkin joining us, so she's co-hosting with me for the second part of the show. Ilana, I didn't know if I was going to be here today after having a kidney stone last night, which was not much fun. I don't know what's worse, the pain of having a kidney stone or the 45 seconds Donald Trump had some fun with Stormy Daniels. I don't know what would be worse, but it was pretty bad, Ilana. Thank you for being
I know both images are.
It wasn't fun. What are your thoughts on this
I'm
pick?
sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, so I do want to talk about that because I don't know that I was really surprised that she ended up going with Walz over Shapiro. But I will say I'm a Shapiro fan. I've watched him for years. But I think Walz is a better compliment for her. I think Shapiro would overshadow her. I think there's been so much attention on Shapiro in the last few weeks that when you have to come out of the gate explaining your VP pick and taking all of those, he does have some negatives that have come out and explaining that's hard. But I also think he's ambitious. He's young, he's articulate, he's ambitious, and you don't want your second to overshadow you, where Tim Walz is the first one that coined strange, right? He's the first one that came out and coined this phrase that everybody started jumping on the Democratic side, including Harris herself. So I think he makes a good attack dog. I do agree that he is every man, right? He was a school teacher. He has a record of service in the military. He has he was a football coach. He's kind of middle Americana.
Yeah.
And so I
No
think
doubt.
he would speak to that. So I think it's a good pick. Does it help her on the electoral math? I think it'll help her with the Midwestern states.
Sure, I agree.
But I want to say I don't agree with you that Shapiro didn't want it. I think Shapiro absolutely wanted it, but
Did you see his statement?
But he has to. He can't make it look like it's sour grapes, right? So and there has to be some saving face, right, on it for him as well. So that's not surprising. Neither was Kelly's. I mean, Kelly, after he sat down with her, apparently he was given the news that it was whittled down between Walz and Shapiro because he posted something about that and said, well, it won't be me. And then they had him take it down. Yeah. So it was a quick post and then he removed it. And so I think what happened is as soon as she sat down with Walz, they connected. And it was always going to be someone that she connected with. Who wants someone who's going to overshadow you or go, God, I wish the VP pick was
No, I get
the
that.
presidential pick.
I get that.
So I think that had a lot to do with it.
I get that. I just think that Shapiro was their number one pick. I've heard from people that are some pretty good sources that they wanted Shapiro. I think something happened here in the next couple of days. But hey, let's see what you guys think out there. Let's take some phone calls. What do you say? Let's do that.
I'm glad you're feeling better, by the way. I was really worried when I got your text that you were in the hospital.
I'm about 75% today, but I'm here. So.
See, everyone, he's so dedicated. And I want to say something. He's so dedicated to this that even being released from the hospital and not feeling the best, he still felt that he had to do this. So everyone should go and donate right now because in fact, I already did this morning because I felt that needed some support. So everyone should get on the website. Tell your website again.
Pushingthelimits.live would be the website. And we appreciate anybody that supports what we do here. I will say this. I decided that I was going to do the show today at 11:20 a.m., about 40 minutes, which is not what I normally do. But I rushed to get out here because I wanted to do the show. I thought this is a very important day. And now I want to take some phone calls. We have a lot of people that are waiting patiently on hold. So let's do it. 702-221-7283. Let's talk to somebody from Pennsylvania first because, this is his governor that I guess was not chosen. Let's go to Mark. Mark, what's out of Pennsylvania? Hello.
Hey, Brian. I wanted to mention a few things on this pick, if you don't mind.
Yep, go ahead.
Number one, I was shopping at the time when the pick came down. And there were people actually watching their phones. That's how interested they were in this pick. And I could tell you they are angry. They are really, really pissed off where I was shopping at anyway. And I went to a dry cleaner and I mentioned to the dry cleaner, did you hear? And he says, I heard and I'm disgusted. We love our governor and we thought he can really bring Pennsylvania to Kamala Harris. But now, without Shapiro and with all these people angry, I really don't know about it. It's a toss-up right now.
So
Actually,
wait. Are they so angry you guys are all going to vote for Trump?
No,
right?
no. I didn't say that. I didn't say they were going to vote for Trump. All right? A lot of them will not vote because they feel slighted. But the other thing I want to mention is that Shapiro sends out newsletters to the people in PA who asked for them. He absolutely 100% wanted the job, but he had to make it look like he wasn't dissed or angry about it, and he had to come out with a comment stating, well, I don't mind not being picked, and I want to govern for the PA. Now, my number one pick, other than Shapiro, I don't understand how they didn't pick Kelly. I don't.
Well, I think Kelly. I think Kelly would have been a better pick as well. I think Bashir would have been a better pick, but
I wouldn't discount Walz.
Oh my God!
I wouldn't discount if you
So-
listen to him speak.
okay. But hold on.
Really
I'm
relatable.
not okay. And thank you, by the way, for the call, Mark. I appreciate you. I am not discounting Walz. Ileana, he's a really good man. I looked at his history. I looked at his service to the country as a teacher. I'm not saying that he's a bad pick. All I'm simply saying is I believe you had several choices that would have helped her more. Now, I hope I'm wrong. And if they win in November, I will be the first person to sit here and say, Brian was wrong. I am so happy she picked Walz. Thank God. But I'm going to tell you something. If they lose Pennsylvania, and I believe Mark, he lives in Pennsylvania. If they lose Pennsylvania, she has nobody to blame but herself. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I hope this was the right pick. If they lose in November and they lose the key battleground state of Pennsylvania, I will end up being right. I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong. I don't want to be right.
I'm telling you, if the voters in Pennsylvania are so mad about this where they don't vote at all, then like there's a bigger problem than that, because you don't vote on the VP.
Well, we'll
you
see.
vote on the head of
We will see.
Nobody votes for the VP in a presidential election. You vote top of the ticket. Period. End
All
of
right,
story.
well, we'll see.
The VP is there to be the attack dog. It's there to be a compliment, but you don't vote for the top of the ticket.
We'll see.
I mean, you vote for the top. You vote for the top of the ticket. You
Again,
don't vote for VP.
But again, we'll see.
This is
Time will
new.
tell.
It's new out of the gate. But I'm telling you, like, I've watched him speak. You know, I'm a Shapiro fan. We talked about it. I've talked about it openly. I think he would have overshadowed her. I really, really do. He's a great attack dog, but in that case, you would have two prosecutors on the ballot. You would have two that they felt that part of the country feels that are elites. You can't say that about Walz. You can't.
Well, I mean, time will tell. We'll see if it benefits her or not. And all right, let's take some more phone calls. We got a lot of people waiting on hold here. Let's go to Deborah. Deborah's next up on PTL. Hi, Deborah. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from the west central coast of Florida, where the deer and the knuckle draggers roam.
All right.
It's true. Ugh.
But pretty,
and we survived the hurricane all right. Some people have some flooding. But I do want to say I really hope you get to feeling better. I know that what you went through is just terrible.
Thank you. I appreciate that. What do you think about this pick by Harris?
Well, I was disappointed that Kelly wasn't picked.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm, hearing about this guy and that Walz kind of will appeal to middle America. He's more of a, down-to-earth man, that kind of thing. So I think that was probably one of the reasons. So we'll just have to see.
We'll have to see.
I was disappointed.
I'm glad. I got to be honest with you. I'm glad that she didn't pick. I'm not saying this would have happened anyway, but the guy that drops off dead bears in Central Park. I'll leave it at that.
Oh.
Boy, I was wrong when I said she should maybe pick that guy. Boy, was I wrong about that. What a nut. What a nut job.
Yeah.
Who does that, by the way?
That's so repulsive.
Who picks up a dead bear?
Can you imagine that poor mama bear was mourning the loss of the cub, and all he could think about was skinning it to eat it.
Very
After
strange.
seeing it get hit, and then you think that's funny. I could see maybe if you're a teenager, you would kind of go, okay, your brain's not fully formed. You just made, but you're like, he was in his 50s,
yeah,
or 50 years old, and with his buddies, thinking it's funny and still kind of nonchalant about it.
You know,
that's what I can't.
Well, what I've said about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and what I will say again is that he's a weirdo.
That is weird. Yes.
And this
so weird.
A normal. We'll get back to the call in a moment here, but I'll just say, your first instinct when an animal gets hit on the side of the road is, boy, I want to eat it.
And a baby. It's a baby.
Very strange. And then he takes a picture with the bear. I don't know if you saw this picture that I posted on social media, where he's pretending like the bear is eating his hand, and the bear is dead. And then he tries to stage the death of the bear. What a freaking whack job.
In the middle of such a, but you drag that there and
Very
you
strange.
think it's funny.
Very strange. All right, let's get back to the calls. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Yes, I would rather have Walz at this point than Robert F. Kennedy Jr. All right, let's go to Joseph is calling out of California. Hi, Joseph. Thanks for calling in. What do you make of this pick? Joseph, are you there? Yep.
Yeah, I'm here.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead. Yep.
Yeah. Here's my piece on the. I say that Kamala Harris's pick for VP right now. I say it's a good thing because he's in an Army National Guard and and also he was a school teacher and a football coach. But I say they got a chance because when it comes to the debate between him and J.D. Vance, I say he'll mop the floor with him. Maybe he'll tell him about how J.D. I hope he'll say everything about him, about how he told his son to shut up about Pokemon. I mean, that's a lesson I'm learning. If I was ever a family man, I would never tell my kids to shut up about Pokemon. I would gladly spend my time with the kids with it.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about this is we're going to find out, but I got to tell you, I'm either going to feel much better about this pick or I'm going to feel much worse about this pick in a week.
I think you're going to feel better.
Well, I hope so. He's going to be speaking in Philadelphia with Harris. My understanding in around 2.5 hours or so.
Soon.
My eyes are going to be glued to the TV. I want to see what they look like together on stage and the chemistry and all that. But the good news is, and thank you for the call, by the way, my man. The good news is that we're going to find out. And I can tell you in a week, I'm going to feel much better or much worse.
Better.
At this point, I hope it's not a mistake. I think it could be.
No.
They need to win Pennsylvania. I think Shapiro would have been the better choice. Nothing against this man. I can only give you my opinions on how I feel right now. Let's get back to the calls. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Debbie. Hi, Debbie. Thanks for calling in. Where are you calling from?
Well, I am calling from Arizona.
All right.
So, no, I am not a Donald Trump fan. Brian, I agree with you. I wanted to tell you I love your show.
Thank you.
It gives me hours of joy even at work when I'm supposed to be working. I'm on my desk listening to you. So
Debbie, let me tell you something. To hear you say I give you hours of joy, most women in my life, I can't even give them seconds of joy. So, I'm sorry. Terrible joke. Terrible
It's
joke.
okay.
I'm sorry.
He loves
Go
to
ahead.
hear that.
I love it. See, there you go. Giving joy again. I agree with you, Brian. I was very, very, very surprised with his choice. I thought he was going to pick Shapiro, and I really, really wanted Mark Kelly. Of course, I am from Arizona, born and raised here. So, but I'm hoping that I change my mind. But I do agree with you, Brian. I was really, really shocked and surprised that he went with Walz.
Well, it's simple. I'm either wrong or I'm right. I want to be wrong. It's not an ego thing with me. I think this I keep putting could ahead of it. I think it could be a mistake. I hope I'm wrong. This is nothing against Walz. I haven't said one negative thing about this guy because I like him. I think he's a good guy, a good Democrat, a good governor. He served this country. He's an honorable man. He's got no scandals out there, right? He's not talking about, there's no rumors about how he had sex with a couch. He's not calling women cat ladies. He's not saying, the wacko crazy crap that J.D. Vance is saying. And by the way, what man, can I talk to you two ladies? What man has his wife defend him for absurd, pathetic comments?
And not very well. She tried. I would give her that, but my goodness.
J.D. Vance's wife does this. She does this puffer interview on Fox News. And I'm like, what kind of man are you to make the wife should say, you said some stupid things. I'm not going to defend it. What type of man does that? J.D. Vance is the cat lady. He's the cat lady Vance.
But even the way she couched it, it was, well.
I like that. She couched it.
He
I think he couched it.
Oh, okay.
She couched it.
No,
Yeah.
but the way she put it was well, he wasn't talking about the women who were trying to have families.
Yeah,
So they
yeah.
still isolated
Let me
all
tell
the
you
women who
something.
decide to not.
Ileana, let me tell you something. This is what these Republicans do all the time. Well, when
Yeah.
Donald Trump talked about injecting yourself in disinfectant, that's not really what he meant. He was just making a joke. When he said there's good people on both
If
sides.
you have to explain, then there's a problem
Yeah.
with the communicator.
Thank you for the call, my dear. I appreciate you. Glad you enjoy the show. Thanks for calling in. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to join the program. Let's get back to the phone lines now, and let's go to Shay. Shay is next up on PTL. What's going on, Shay?
How you doing?
Good.
I think I think Walz is going to get them the presidency, Brian.
I hope so.
I think this was the best move. I think Shapiro. I think the only reason why Kamala did not pick Shapiro was due to the fact it wasn't because he was Jewish. I think it was because the fact of his position on Gaza. She did not want to alienate the progressive vote within the Democratic Party.
Okay, but hold on. I got to stop you there. His position on Gaza is identical to Walz. I'm just telling you, they have identical positions.
And her position on Gaza is a little upsetting to some.
Yeah.
Some, in the Jewish
Shapiro,
community.
if you look at their voting record and what the things they've said on the record, I'm talking about Walz and Shapiro now, Shay, they are identical. I don't think anybody would characterize his opinions on the Israel situation any different than Joe Biden's position on it. So I have to respectfully disagree with you on that one, but go ahead, sir.
I think Walz, if you look at the way he talks, how the way he conducts himself, he does not sound like a politician. He sounds like a right down to earth individual.
That's a good thing.
I look at him as somebody that's not gonna hold punches. I think he's a person that Kamala. I think they definitely can work together. I'm curious to see the couple of weeks when they go on these rallies, and I want to see how they conduct themselves. But I think Donald Trump, and don't get me wrong, Brian, I would not be shocked if Nikki Haley becomes Donald Trump's VP. I still think so. I think he's going to drop J.D. Vance.
J.D. Vance is a disaster. But here's how stupid Donald Trump is. And by the way, I don't
know if they can do that.
I don't disagree with you, but here's how stupid Donald Trump is. He will let his ego get in the way because he's not willing to admit he made a mistake. He's claiming that he listened to advisors and his stupid son Eric. But I don't think his ego would allow him to do that. And by the way, you're right. That would be better for Republicans and Donald Trump if Nikki Haley took the ticket. I'd be very worried. I don't think that's going to happen. I think J.D. Vance is an absolute he's
a disaster.
Disaster. Yeah, I agree. 702-221-7283. Disaster is a good word.
Are they able to change the ticket so late in
You're allowed to. Yep.
Okay. At what
not
point,
against
even
the law.
after the convention, at what point when the ballots have been printed, is it too late though?
I don't know the exact date, but I can tell you right now he can make that decision. I know that's legal. 702, not to say that Donald Trump abides by the law. 702-221.
Never.
7283. Let's go to David. David is next up on PTL. What's up, David?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Yeah, the thing of it is I think that, kind of what everybody else has been saying is that Shapiro was probably a better pick because he was just more of I think he appeals to more people.
Yeah.
And Walz, I think that he's going to excite progressives, but Kamala needs more than progressives. She needs more than just Democrats. And look, Walz does have things going for him. He's a good speaker. He's a heavy hitter. But I think he's going to have a lot of ammunition against him that Republicans will use against him, like how he handled the BLM riots. And I also think that Shapiro is just he looks a bit more presidential, just the way he presents himself. He's young.
And that's exactly the problem.
What do you mean by problem?
Because he's not the top of the ticket. That in there lies the problem. You don't want your VP to overshadow you on stage.
I don't think Shapiro would overshadow her. Here's why I agree with David. Okay. He made a very poignant, he made a great point, which is you want to think outside the base. David is right. That's the issue that Donald Trump has with J.D. Vance, besides all the other crazy things he says. J.D. Vance appeals to the base. That's it. I'm not sure Walz appeals to people outside the base. One thing that I will say about Shapiro, he is liked in Pennsylvania by Democrats and Republicans. And I think that's why I think this could be a mistake.
But so is Walz in Minnesota. But I want to say on that to both of you.
You think Walz appeals with Republicans in Minnesota? I don't know about that.
I think he appeals to independents, and I think because he's likable, because he's like them, because he has that military record. I think you put two elites on a ticket, especially one like David. When you said he looks presidential, that in there lies a problem. Because if I see Harris and Shapiro together, I'm wishing Shapiro was top ticket. I just do. I just find him so appealing as a Democrat.
Go ahead, David. I'll give you the last word here. Go ahead.
The one quick thing is, back in 2008 with Obama, one of the reasons I think he won is because he looked presidential. I mean, forget about policy.
Yeah.
He just had that look, and I think Shapiro had that, and I think Kamala may regret that.
Well, and I think,
thank you.
Well,
Thank you, David.
When you're talking about, okay, again, VP, not top ticket. Top ticket, Shapiro's my pick for a presidential candidate. But for Harris, I do think it's going to be someone that she wants to govern that's not going to overshadow her. And remember, she's also a woman. To be a woman and the top of the ticket, or the top of that power base, my goodness, like, you have to make sure that the person that is below you in position is okay being number two as well. And so if you get overshadowed, like, you guys are men, you don't quite understand what that's like. And I'm telling you, that has to be in consideration as well.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, but I do agree with a lot of what David said.
But I will say Walz is different from the J.D. Vance Trump pick, because Vance is a Trump-like. Right, exactly. And if you take that, you have Harris, prosecutor, she can be seen as elite. Walz isn't seen as elite. Shapiro is seen as elite. Walz
I don't see Shapiro as elite at all.
Absolutely.
I don't see him as a lead or as an elitist. I see
Ivy
him
League educated, again, prosecutor. Yeah, he is seen as elite.
All I'm simply saying, and as I've said it before, but I'll even go further in this, and then we got to get back to some more phone calls, is that Shapiro has become a household name.
Absolutely.
Brian Shapiro, I'm talking about. No, I'm just
yes, that too. I totally agree with you. Hashtag Shapiro.
But in all seriousness, everybody knows who Josh Shapiro is. We all know. There's a lot of people that did not know much about this man, Walz. Now,
and that's going to work in his favor.
Well, we will see about that.
Favor.
We will see about that. But if you ask me right now, I think it could be a mistake.
But think about how that works in the campaign's favor. You get to control the rollout. You get to control the messaging for this ticket. You don't have someone who's already been in the media, talked about. That this is going to work in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, it could. I'm not sure. All right, here's the number to call. We have a few phone lines open, which is a rarity. 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Courtney. Courtney is next up on PTL. Hi, Courtney. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Brooklyn. I'm your regular caller.
All right. What's up, Courtney? What do you think about this pick? Do you agree, disagree with me? What do you say?
Well, I initially wanted Shapiro, but then when it came out, that whole enabling of the sexual harassment, that was going to alienate young women in the Me Too movement. That they would have been all over that. Secondly, his issue with the educators that were saying that his school voucher program was just like the one in Project 2025. That would have been an issue. Mm-hmm. So she ended up not being able to go with him. I really wanted Buttigieg, but we knew that couldn't happen. So yeah. I also liked Kelly, but then there was some issue about China with Kelly. I think she went with the safest pick. There was at least garbage coming out about Walz than everybody else.
Yeah, I think the people on the far right will always find a way. They're going to go after Walz, and they already have. And I'll play some audio when we come back again from J.D. Vance attacking him on what took place in Minnesota, saying that he wants to defund the police. There's going to be a lot of lies put forth. But, boy, this guy, that is a positive, and I do hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you in that this is a man who...
Shapiro had progressives coming out against him, and that would have been a real problem because we would have had the progressives and the other side. And I don't think he outshines Kamala. I mean, Kamala's amazing. That would have been an amazing ticket. But once that Me Too stuff came out, I was like, that's it for him.
Well, this guy doesn't have any controversy. That's certainly a good point. Serving in the National Guard, his father served in the Army.
Yeah.
He served for over 20 years, which is incredible. He's a hero. He taught social studies for 20 years. He has a lovely family. He's had a very honorable life. And I got to be honest with you, again, as I said earlier, I thought he was in his 70s. I didn't, all due respect to his looks, I thought he was in his 70s. The man's only 60 years old.
I thought he was a little
okay,
older,
he's
but
around the same age as Harris. So that's interesting. So his age is fine. He's only 60 years old. And he's a hero. So you do bring up a valid point taken that he doesn't really have any scandals or anything like that in his life. Not to say that Shapiro necessarily did. There's a lot of lies about sexual harassment and stuff. I will say this. There's nobody on this ticket on the left that is a liable sexual abuser. Thank you so much for the phone call. There's nobody on the left that incited an insurrection on the ticket. There's nobody on the left that is set on point that he doesn't want black people to count his money in his casinos. He wants Jews to count his money. There's nobody on the left that's attacked on the ticket that's attacked women, that's attacked POWs, called them suckers and losers. There's nobody that's a 34-count felon that's on the ticket on the left. Republicans should be ashamed of themselves that they support this man. But, my MAGA callers, I'm sure, will defend it. 702-221-7283.
Just not very well.
Yep. And again, exactly. And again, that number to call in if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-7283. Let's go to Julian, who's next up on PTL. What's up, Julian?
Hey, Brian. How you doing today?
Good. What's on your mind, my friend?
So I think I was definitely a fan of Shapiro, but I think Shapiro does offer the most ability for people to attack because I get what you're saying about Israel and Gaza, but the thing is that there's perception and reality. Whereas, like, for instance, Biden's take on Israel and Gaza is very nuanced, but like people basically painted him in a certain light. And the second he stepped out, there was this massive rush for people supporting Kamala, people who are saying they would never vote for Joe Biden, even though their stances are very, very similar because the perception is different. And that really matters. And that added massively to the momentum. We've seen all this money pour in. We've seen tons of people who were otherwise not registered to vote start to register to vote. Yep. And Shapiro, unfortunately, because he voluntarily served in the IDF, because of what he said about the college protests, while I don't disagree with his statement, that could potentially hamper the momentum. And then in terms of just like the electoral math, I think your first guest really hit it. And I just want to go over the last several winning presidential bids. Harris was a attack dog and more of a progressive compared to Joe Biden's centrist view. Then Pence was more of a statesman to balance out Obama's crazy. Biden offered foreign aid experience compared to Obama's inexperience. Dick Cheney offered war crimes to George Bush. But so I think what Walz does is he basically really speaks to, I guess, the common blue-collar American who the Democratic policies really do benefit, but the Democrats just suck at messaging to them.
Well, they do. I'm going to say this.
Absolutely, 100% agree with you.
I'm going to say this in layman's terms here, okay? Worst case scenario, Walz doesn't hurt the ticket. Worst case scenario, he doesn't move the needle. We know J.D. Vance is hurting the ticket.
Oh, absolutely.
We know, and I appreciate the call, my friend. Thank you.
Ultimately, it's going to come down to Harris versus Trump. Like, that's what everyone has to. So, yes, people are upset in their respective states because their person to get chosen. However, in the end, they're going to press the button, pull the lever, whatever, for either Harris or Trump. That's what it comes down to. It's not going to be Vance versus, it's just right now it's going to be the momentum that's going to put her. I mean, she's already pulled ahead in national polls, right? Like the state by state is a
It's
little
very
messier,
close.
but
It's very close.
right, but she swung it. Like
Yeah.
momentum is on their side. Well, Trump, I mean, if you listen to him, he's disintegrating, right? He's having a meltdown. No one's paying attention to me. Everyone like look at me, and so, but he's having a tantrum.
Well, he does that every day. That's nothing new for Donald Trump.
Yes, but he usually gets all the attention.
No
Now
question.
that has shifted a
Yeah.
bunch, right? So he's not the news
No
story.
question. 702-221-7283. By the way, Walz and Harris are scheduled to be speaking sometime in the next hour and a half or so in Philadelphia. Let's go to Paul. Paul is next up on PTL. Hi, Paul. Where are you calling from?
Long Island, New York.
Oh, thank you for calling in, Paul. What's on your mind today?
I just kind of wanted to reinforce some of the things you've been saying.
Sure.
That number one, I think Walz is the safer pick.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, I think you're looking at trying to get the first woman president as well as a black/Indian president and adding somebody Jewish to the ticket. I think might be a little bit of a bridge too far to stretch at this point in time.
Maybe. You might be right on that.
For the
Maybe.
most of our country. You know, I unfortunately I agree with you. I do.
And the other thing I want to say is that Shapiro, I agree. He's aggressive. I think he may very well be a candidate for president in 2028. And I think, again, Harris is looking for somebody that she can get along with and support her agenda and so forth. And I think they probably do. But he, like you've said, I think may be more of a presidential look and maybe more of a head clashing than Walz, so I think would be more supportive.
How'd you like to see Newsom Shapiro 2028?
I don't know about Newsom.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I think that's
Shapiro
my thought.
Newsom.
Fair enough. I love my people out there in Long Island. I'm obviously from around that area, so I appreciate you calling in, my friend. I think you made some really good points, and
Totally agree
you know,
with
and we'll have to wait and see what happens. But you make some good points, some very valid points there, my friend, and I appreciate the call, David. Or I'm sorry, that was Paul. I'm sorry. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Laura. Laura's next up on PTL. Hi, Laura. Where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm calling from Salt Lake City, Utah.
All right. Well, thank you for calling in, Laura. What do you make about this pick?
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you for your show. It's awesome.
Oh, thank you,
I'm
Laura.
glad that I found it.
That means a lot to me. Thank you.
I was disappointed, but I don't want to dwell on the disappointment because I feel like we have to move on and support the ticket. But I think that Tim Walz is going to appeal to the baby boomer generation, which I am, 65, and those voters that are I hate to say it, but the white America in my age range, I am a never Trumper. I mean, I can't stand the guy, but there's probably a swath of voters out there that are the ones that kind of like the Reagan Democrats,
the
ones that, voted for Trump but didn't really want to. And I think that Tim Walz is going to appeal to a bunch of those people and independents. And I think that they're going to swing this election, the baby boomer generation. I know that there's a lot of young voters that already are very excited about Kamala.
Yes.
And so I think that Tim Walz is a good choice for that reason. And so I would have loved Josh Shapiro. But,
well, I go on the air today. I'm with you. I go on the air today with some concerns. It's got nothing to do with Walz, the human being, the politician, the policy. I'm with him. I think he's a good man. I haven't said one negative thing about him because I can't find anything to say about him negative. With that being said, I think Shapiro would have been a better choice. Now, I hope I'm wrong. And in November, if she in fact wins, I'll be like, okay, this was obviously the right pick. If he has a great debate performance, I'll say, okay, this was the right pick, but I'm not there yet. And I think this week is going to tell a lot. I think today's going to tell a lot. I want to see what they have to say on the stage together. And, we'll just kind of take it from there, right? But I'll tell you this much. I have a lot of respect for a man out of Utah in the name of Mitt Romney. I don't always agree with him on policy, but I believe Mitt Romney is a decent man, and he has spoken truth. And I will always respect Mitt Romney, even though I don't always agree with him policy-wise. and we need more Republicans out there that like Mitt Romney. Doesn't mean we always have to agree with them on policy, but Mitt Romney is a decent man.
He's a statesman.
And what the Republican Party has done to this man, and what they've done to Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney, you can't find somebody more on the far right than Liz Cheney. What they've done to these people, it's just despicable, man. It's despicable. And I know there's a lot of people in Utah that are Republicans that are angry at Mitt Romney for impeaching Donald Trump. I mean, screw them. That's what I say.
It was the right thing to do, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
he did the right, and he did what he felt was right. Even if you don't agree with someone with their decisions, if they feel like they made the right decision, you at least have to honor that part of it, right?
And yet there's Republicans out there that like the Kevin McCarthy's who said Donald Trump should take responsibility for what took place on January 6th. Then he goes over to Mar-a-Lago wearing the Donald Trump knee pads. I mean, it's ridiculous. Thank you. It is ridiculous. Thank you for the call, my dear. I made you laugh. That is my goal. So I appreciate it.
Are we selling knee pads?
Yeah, we
on
should.
The site?
You know what we should do? We should sell Donald Trump knee pads on pushinglimits.live. Yeah, and I bet you Lauren Boebert would be the first one to buy one. Then it'd be Marjorie Taylor Greene. I should go down the list. Who is most likely to buy a pair of Donald Trump knee pads? Matt Gaetz, Jim Jordan.
We could do a poll.
Yeah.
Like have everyone do a poll on your site. That would be fun.
I'm going to go on social media today. I'm going to say who's the odds? Who's most likely to buy a pair of Donald Trump knee pads? Thank you for the call, dear. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Nelson. Nelson is next up on PTL. Hi, Nelson. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from the East Coast.
All right. Well, where on the East Coast?
Yeah, that's a
give
out
your address live on the air. No, I'm just kidding, Nelson. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Well, it's very simple. Donald Trump chose somebody with only 18 months of experience.
Yeah,
and she chose somebody who has a lot more experience than
decades.
J.D. Vance.
Yep.
So the choice is this: chaos versus stability.
Yep.
Which one you want? You know what I mean? It's that at the end of the day. And now you have Republicans for Harris movement taking shape with so many prominent Republicans already flocking to it. And in regards to that, though, I hope, and I don't know if he's listening, but I think a potential person to come out to endorse this movement with the Republicans for Harris movement will be Mike Pence.
I'm glad you brought that up. Let's talk about that because there are a lot of people now that are asking Mike Pence, including his former aide that worked for him. I'm forgetting her name right now, but she was on CNN the other day. They are begging Mike Pence. Now, listen, Mike Pence to me is a complete idiot. Okay. I'm not a Mike Pence guy, but I will say this. If he joins the Republicans for Harris, which he won't because I think he's a coward, but if he does, that's a big deal. It is already a big deal that he's not supporting Donald Trump. It would be an even bigger deal if Mike Pence went on this Republicans for Harris. And there's a lot of people joining. And Ron Filipowski, pretty popular guy from Midas Touch, is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that Republican. Ron Filipowski is a former Republican. He's still a Republican per se, but he's very anti-Trump like I am. I don't think Mike Pence is going to do it because I think he's a coward. I would be
sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I may differ from him with policies, but look, he stood up for the country once.
Yeah.
He didn't follow his advice. Again, this will be his decision, but I think it's something he should consider. And like I said, for Republicans out there who do vote for this Harris and Walz ticket, they're not voting for her policies or what she stands for. I mean, it's not going to be like that. But for them, it's going to be about voting for the Constitution, what it stands for, and for democracy.
Sure.
At the end of the day, it's just, I think when it comes to that vote from Republicans who feel that their party has been taken, look, the truth is, if you want to get back to what the party or what they know what the Republican Party used to be like, you're going to have to remove this cancer. And this is Trump's last stand, because after this, he's going to be up there in age. He's on his way out health-wise. He doesn't want to take care of himself. And this is just one of the ways for them to get their party back to what it was I think will be a long way.
I agree.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens next with them. But as far as the country goes, we're not going back to what they want to go to, which is chaos.
No, I hear you. And listen, I don't
I hope not.
I don't disagree with you. You did say Donald Trump doesn't want to take care of himself. I think I could name at least one other person that doesn't want to take care of him. Her name is Melania Trump. Thank you for the call, my friend. I appreciate it, and very well said. So, all right, listen, I enjoyed getting MAGA callers and those that at least support Donald Trump. So let's try to do that now. 702-221-7283. I want to get their perspective on this pick. Let's go to JD, who's next up on PTL. Hello, JD.
Hello, and thanks for taking my call. I've been listening to all the good things everybody's been saying about the governor. Would you like to hear some of the things that I think are going to be said about him that are bad?
Okay, if they're true, right? I mean, hopefully they're true.
Well, okay. This is what's circulating all around. First of all, he's for sanctuary state of Minnesota. And he's a very progressive man that was endorsed by Bernie Sanders.
So what did he vote on?
Okay, so
what did he vote on as far as sanctuary cities? Do you have a bill that he proposed, or because anybody could say anything on social media?
I have two.
Okay.
Number one, he voted to have tampons put in boys' bathrooms in the high school. He signed a bill.
Okay, so all the things in the world that we have problems
That's what
with.
we have to worry about.
Hold on, yeah. All the things in the world.
I'm just saying. You asked me a question. So
okay. So let's go one at a time.
Something legitimate?
Is that top on your list because somebody?
No.
Okay, so let's ignore that then because you're the one that brought it up. Okay, bring up something else.
What sense does it make? Does it show something to the man's common sense?
Sure, I think it absolutely does, and I would be okay with that. Do you know why? Because in this day and age, if you have somebody in there that's transgender, for example, I have no problem. Can you explain to me how that hurts society? Why that would trouble you? Why is that a bad thing?
It troubled.
Okay, so then let's move on.
And don't their rights count? Like, don't their rights?
Okay, so I don't consider that
get into that discussion.
Okay, well, you're the one.
You asked me.
You're the one who brought it up. Do you have a problem with that? Do you have a problem with that?
Okay, but what's your top things that you're concerned about with Walz?
Name me some. Good question. Name me something about Walz that you think actually troubles you and bothers you, because tampons in men's bathrooms, most of the country doesn't care about that.
Well, he let Minneapolis burn down.
No,
during
he didn't.
The riots.
Okay, no, he didn't.
He didn't call the National
But
Guard.
that is the right.
He let a police station burn down. He abandoned the police station.
No.
First of all, he didn't let anything burn down. That is categorically false. Okay, he didn't let something burn down. That is wrong. Okay, first of all, he wasn't presiding over that city. Okay, do you understand that the mayor of that city is the first one to make that call? It's not the governor.
But he wouldn't call out the National Guard. My point.
And where is your evidence that he refused to call out the National Guard?
Or that was warranted, or if it wouldn't have made it worse.
This is my problem.
If it was warranted, they were burning the city down, man.
Okay, so first of all, he didn't allow the city to burn down. And number two, my problem is the first thing you bring up with this guy, the first thing you would think would be the most important problem you have. Like when someone asks me, what's my biggest issue with Donald Trump? I say, well, he doesn't admit that he lost the 2020 election. And then I can go from there. Okay. The first thing I don't bring up with Donald Trump is orange makeup that he puts on in the morning. The first thing you bring up is there's tampons being given in male bathrooms.
But even
you asked me for a bill that he signed, and that's what it was. But even, one of them, to give you an example.
But hold on. But even the falsehood that he let Minneapolis burn, which
not true.
He didn't. So because what you don't know is the intel that he was getting, that it might have made it worse, that people on the ground were going, hey, if we do this, everything's really going to erupt. This is going to put our folks in harm's way. You have no idea.
When somebody's committing a crime, what you're saying is you don't try to stop the crime because it might get worse.
You also don't put people in harm's way in the
That's what the National Guard is for, ma'am.
And 3 days days later, what did he do?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
He brought in the National Guard 3 days later.
No, President Trump did that.
No,
okay, no, not true.
That's not true.
Not true.
Absolutely not true.
So
Trump may have told everybody that's what he did, but that's not how that works.
So it's amazing how you deny facts.
Okay, it's amazing how I deny facts. Who won the 2020 election free and fair? Answer the question.
I guess it was Joe.
No.
Okay, that's a good answer.
It's not you guess.
But it's okay.
Okay, it's not a guess.
Okay, good.
Don't answer it with a I guess. Okay.
I used the euphemism. Joe Biden won.
Okay. Well, thank you. 75% of Republicans believe that Donald Trump won the 2000.
I don't believe the number is that high.
Okay. Well, I don't really care what you believe. You believe a lot of crazy
I know you
things.
don't.
Okay.
And I don't care much.
Here's the bottom line.
Some of the things that you were saying is exactly what Vance said this morning.
Hey, do you understand that 3 days after that he did call in the National Guard? It's not my fault that you can't spell the word fact, but you want to accuse us of not being able to spell the word fact. Why don't you do a Google search and look it up? Unless you're in the bunker and you have Alzheimer's, JD. Are you in the bunker?
Hey,
do you have Alzheimer's?
One other thing, if I may.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
I'm getting up there.
You want to talk about tampons
Okay,
and bathrooms again?
Wait.
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
One other thing, if I may.
Please.
He was in the National Guard for 24 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a sergeant, a master sergeant, the highest rank in the Guard. For an enlisted man. And then he retired after we were going to Iraq. He didn't want to, after he was called to go to Iraq, he quit.
So now you want to go after a man. This is so despicable, but that's okay. I'm glad this is. So what? Hold on, Ilana. Three people aren't talking. Hey, be quiet. People aren't. Why don't you be quiet now? It's my turn to talk. This is a perfect example of when Donald Trump said, "I don't respect John McCain because he was captured." Here is a despicable man, and that's what you are, JD. You're despicable. Why do I say that? Here's a man who served this country honorably for over 20 years, but you're making an assumption that he didn't want to go to Iraq and somehow he's some sort of coward.
Not that he might have been too old.
Yeah.
At that point.
And here's the thing, JD. You want to attack Democrats or want to attack somebody like me for not having the quote-unquote facts, yet you have no idea why he decided to retire, and you're making a gross assumption, which is a despicable assumption, which is what you right-wing turds do all the time. You are making an assumption that this man stepped down because he didn't want to go to war in Iraq, even though he served for over 20 years honorably, and it makes you a deplorable, and you sound like Donald Trump when you talk like that. So go ahead and vote for your rapist turd. Let me ask him a question real quick. Let me just ask him a quick question.
And then I want to say something.
Do you know for a fact, since you're a man of facts, you claim, that Walz retired over serving for over 20 years because, quote, he didn't want to fight the war in Iraq? Do you know that for certainty, JD?
A man by the name of Colonel Tony Schaefer made that assertion today. Retired colonel.
Got you. So why is it that when somebody makes an assertion that Donald Trump called our brave men and women suckers and losers,
he never called them that.
Right. Right. So Millie,
he did.
So we should call Millie. Hey, JD.
Yes, he did.
Okay, hold on. So JD, when Millie makes a claim and he puts it in writing, a general for years puts it in writing, that must be a lie. But some colonel that I've never heard of before makes a claim.
Tony Schaefer.
I've never heard of him before.
Schaefer.
Okay, so he makes a claim.
An assertion.
As the way you put it, that this guy stepped down after 20 years of service because somehow he was afraid to go to war in Iraq. That must be true, that assertion. But when General Milley says that Donald Trump called our brave men and women suckers and losers and puts it in writing, that's a lie. JD, get the hell off my show. You're a deplorable and a disgusting human being.
I want to make a comment just from a female perspective, right? We're having this conversation for the most part, like pretty decent conversation. And he starts going after me. Do you notice how he was screaming, ma'am, ma'am, and going after me? You're the one who's saying, like things, but he's going after me because he perceives me the weaker. And I want to say, like, this is what we deal with. This is exactly what we deal with. I picked that up immediately. The ma'am, why are you laughing? I made a statement, was laughing about it, but he attacked me. So I want to say this is the crap that women deal with. And so I don't have a problem understanding that Harris picked someone that she felt comfortable, that wasn't going to feel like that was going to try to undermine her even by accident. But I can tell you, like, that is the stuff that drives me absolutely crazy.
Well, let me be
clear. I feel for that.
Let me be clear on this. JD, you are MAGA scum. For you to go on the air, you just did exactly what Donald Trump did when talking about John McCain, when he said he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured. You are making the claim that somebody who served honorably and risked his life for this country for over 20 years, as you stated, 24 years. And you are making the claim that he decided to retire, assuming because he didn't want to go to war in Iraq. And yet you support the orange turd, let me be clear, who did not only serve this country, but dodged the military multiple times. But isn't it interesting when a guy like General Milley claims that Donald Trump said they're suckers and losers who serve this country? You don't believe that, and you think Milley's a liar. But when somebody makes a claim, and by the way, there's no evidence to prove, that he stepped down from the military and retired because he didn't want to go to war in Iraq, you are basically calling him a coward. Let me tell you something. The coward is you, JD. You can't spell the word fact, and you're a coward. And somehow you took your little Trump fingers today to try to dig up dirt on Walz. And what did you find? And by the way, you only named one bill. What did you find? You found out that Walz allowed tampons in men's bathrooms in high schools. And you stated it on the air.
To help kids out.
Yeah.
To I don't.
JD, you're deplorable. And the way that you would attack somebody's service of over 20 years with no evidence that he retired because he didn't want to go to war in Iraq. But the fact that you would even bring that up.
He would have been early 40s, first of all.
Is absurd. And it goes to show your lack of intelligence. But please vote for your rapist orange turd, JD. Democrats don't want your vote. Please vote for your orange turd 34-count felon rapist. But you'll never bring up the fact that he dodged the military. But you want to attack somebody's service of over 20 years. You're a joke, JD. And you are Donald Trump's base.
Not only the military service, but service to the schools.
Yeah.
Right? He became a teacher, a football coach. That's also of service. I can tell you, they don't do it for the money.
Well, the bottom line here is this, regardless of him being a football coach or not. The fact that that man would call into this show and basically call Kamala Harris's vice presidential running mate, basically he's calling him a coward, is exactly the type of language that Donald Trump used about John McCain. Let's get back to the calls. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Paul. Paul is next up on PTL. Hi, Paul.
Hey, buddy. Hey, I kind of wanted Shapiro, but now that I'm learning more, I don't know a lot about Walz. I actually kind of like him better. I think he's had more time in office. He served the country. He seems to be a decent guy. He doesn't put up with any nonsense. I mean, he just seems like a down-to-earth, regular dude. And I do kind of see how Shapiro can come across as it would be hard with Harris going against his ego. I can kind of see that clash. I actually see that now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm going to learn a little bit more about him. My initial reaction as I go on the air today is that I think it could be a mistake. I'm not saying it is a mistake. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Yeah. I think over the course of the next week, we're going to learn a lot more about him, and we'll hear the attacks from the far right, like that idiot JD who just called in. He retired before the Iraq war, so he didn't want to. I mean, listen, you're going to hear nonsense from the far right. This guy doesn't have any baggage. He seems to be a decent man, and I'm willing to be open to it, and I want to learn more about him, and I want to learn more. I think we're going to start learning more about him today.
The thing that bothers me about the callers is, again, I know I say this a lot. I'm a Democrat, but I'll vote for either side, an independent. What I don't understand is the Republicans that call in, they literally want to watch the world burn. Like, they focus on the stupidest. Like, Biden could have done 1,000 good things, right? And they'll focus on the one thing that happened, like George Floyd. They don't give a shit, excuse my language, that George Floyd was murdered by a cop. They don't care.
Right.
Oh, but the city burned down. They don't care about the 96% of peaceful protests. They want to focus on the 4% that were bad. Like, I don't understand. They just seem like such unhappy people.
By the way, I want to add something. And I just want to add something. It's a simple Google search. JD said that Walz did not call the National Guard. Donald Trump did. Hey, JD, you're an idiot, and you're a liar, and you're misinformed. Let me tell you something. Walz is the one that deployed the National Guard during the 2020 unrest. It was not Donald Trump. So you MAGA morons out there like JD who can't get your facts right, Walz is the one who called in the National Guard.
When it was safe to do so
Right.
for the National Guard
Right.
members as well. Like, you don't want to literally add fuel to the fire.
Hey, JD, your orange turd did not deploy the National Guard. Walz did, you stupid idiot.
But a lot of what he was saying is exactly what Vance was saying this morning, like verbatim. That's where he's getting his talking points.
Yeah.
No, it's in a cult. And a lot of this, Brian, and it comes from the evangelical church, because when you watch people post stuff online, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whatever it is, they sit there and be like, oh, there's a rainbow. Oh, God's in here. Oh, Donald Trump didn't die. I'm like, well, what about the guy that died behind him? What about the kids in Uvalde? What about George Floyd? But to them, it's like, oh, look, it's a rainbow. Jesus is speaking to me. And I'm a Christian, and these people are out of their damn minds. They take everything to mean something that it's not. It's always a sign.
Yeah, God wanted to save Trump, but not all the little the kids and all the babies that have been murdered across the country.
Thank you for the call, Paul. I appreciate you, my
Thank you,
man.
Paul.
Here is another example of an idiot who calls into this show, not Paul, who believes every word Donald Trump said. Guess what? Last week at a rally, Trump said that he deployed the National Guard in Minnesota. That is a lie.
Absolutely.
I repeat, that is a lie. Minnesota's governor did back in 2020. If you don't believe me, you can Google it, or you can listen to your OAN and Newsmax. All right, here's what I want to do. I want to take a quick break. We have a bunch of people on hold. Kenny, Jason, Armando. We will get to your calls when we come back. Please sit tight. This portion of the program is brought to you by the official gaming bar of PTL, which is Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. What a cool promotion they have running this month. You've all had this if you gamble, where somebody will hit a jackpot next to you or something, and you're happy for them, but also you're like, damn, I wish it was me. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
This gives you more reason to root for everybody, because if anybody hits a taxable jackpot at Jackson's and you're actively playing with your card in the machine, you're going to get $20 in free slot play. How cool is that? That is an awesome promotion. Check them out. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones, and tell them I sent you. We're going to take a quick break. Ilana Dropkin joining us. And when we come back, we'll get to more of your calls. We have one phone line open. You know, I love these conservative talk show hosts who say, the phone lines are open. The phone lines are open. Yeah, because they never can get calls. It's rare that we have.
Let's get another woman. I want to hear another female perspective.
Okay.
So come on, women, call in.
So you want JD Vance to call in? That's what you're saying. All right. We'll take some calls when we come back.
No, I don't want him to call in.
I'd love for him to call. I'd ask him if he wants my couch. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. One phone line open. We'll be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
Workers have been hit hard over the past few years. From the pandemic to inflation, it has often felt like we can't get ahead. Too many of us are struggling to afford rent, food, and other basic necessities. We need leaders who know that our country depends on us, the workers. If we succeed, everyone else succeeds. Our choice is clear this November. We must elect leaders who support our crucial role in this country, and that is not Donald Trump. Paid for by Battleborn Progress.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey accumulates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com and get started.
Hello, I'm Ron Quince, and I'm running for Congress as a nonpartisan candidate in District 1. I'm dedicated to serving our entire community. In this challenging time, it's more important than ever to have leaders who focus on unity and progress. I believe in putting people over politics and finding practical solutions that benefit us all. Never stop believing in America, no matter our troubles and turmoil. We can and we will do better. We must be brave. Stop voting for those politicians who care about their career and gaining power but don't improve our lives. I believe in America and I believe in you. You need a candidate who believes in policy over party because you deserve better. In Nevada, every voice matters. I humbly ask for your vote this coming election, November 5th. To learn how we can create a better America, please visit quincefornevada.com. Paid for by Ron Quince for Congress.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. The great Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch will be joining us on the show tomorrow. Some more special guests throughout the week. And, of course, the official gaming bar of Pushing the Limits is Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. As I mentioned, you walk in there and you're actively playing with your card in, and somebody hits a taxable jackpot, which I believe is $1,200 or more. You're going to get $20 in free slot play put right on your card within 24 hours. Great food, great atmosphere, great people. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. I also want to say that I am independently owned, right? And it costs money to do a radio show. So how can you get involved? If you enjoy the show, boy, we had a lot of great calls today, people that I've never called in before. I appreciate all of you very much. So how can you get involved and support what I do? Well, check out my website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live. You'll have an opportunity to sign up for my free newsletter, some content up there. But if you really want to support what I do, besides listening, which I appreciate, check out the merchandise section on the website. If you don't want to buy merchandise, you can also check out the donate button. And Ilana was nice enough to bring one of these. And this is a really cool PTL mug you can buy on there. Or what would you call this, Ilana?
Water bottle.
A water bottle. Yes.
Yeah.
Plenty of cool stuff up there. And of course, the donate doesn't matter whether it's $5, $10, $20. We appreciate anything you can do. And thank you for supporting what we do. All right. I promised we would get back to the calls because we only got about 5 minutes left here. So let's get back to those calls. And let's start off with Christina. Hi, Christina. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Georgia.
Thanks for calling in, Christina. What's on your mind today?
Well, first of all, I wanted to thank you for the comments you've made about the late Senator McCain.
Yes.
And I am a lifelong Republican, moderate Republican, and I actually used to be on staff with Senator McCain in 2000, 2008.
Oh, wow.
And
that's amazing.
Very grateful that he's not alive to see what has taken place with our party. But what I wanted to say was that knowing him and knowing his senior staff the way I do, had he been alive today, he would most definitely be supporting Kamala.
Absolutely.
And
yes.
Dr. Walz, and as a Republican, not as a party switcher. And so I wanted to thank you for that. And
of course, I will always respect John McCain's service. He's a hero. He was a good man. I had the opportunity, and luckily I was able to meet him when he was running for president against Barack Obama. The reason why I didn't vote for Barack Obama is because I would have been okay with John McCain being president. I wasn't crazy about Sarah Palin, and I think she actually cost him the election. But John McCain was a decent, good man, and he's a hero. And the attacks from Donald Trump are despicable.
I can tell you're 100% right. As a staffer who was on staff in 2008, we were told that Governor Pawlenty was going to be the VP choice. For some reason, Governor Pawlenty decided not to at the last minute, and then it was a scramble.
Yeah.
As you know from the country, Sarah Palin wasn't properly vetted, and it disappointed a lot of us as staff members.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, Christina, I will tell you this, Christina, and by the way, thank you. I'm up against the end of the show here. I will always respect John McCain as a hero, his service to this country.
Yes.
Christina, I hope you can call back because I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. We're just running out of time here, and I want to get to as many callers as I can. Let's go to Jason, who's calling out of Vegas. Jason, what's up, man?
Hey, I call you the defender now. Brian the defender. All right, I'm going to give you 2 quick bullet points, and I really want you to contemplate this. Number 1, stop calling it the Cheeto Jesus. Cheeto Jesus. Jesus is too good to compare with Trump.
How about orange turd?
So,
are you okay?
Hold on.
Okay.
I'm going to give you something so you can contemplate it.
Okay.
Think about it. Who's the father of lies? Satan. Call Trump Satan's son. That's what you call Trump.
Okay.
But last but not least, I really want you to think about this, and if you could, you should put this in a loop every time you start your show. Until the election, put in on how he wants to sleep with his daughter, how he loves to sleep, walk into little 14-year-old teen pageants when they're naked, and the Access Hollywood. Put that in the loop, and every time you start the show, because you're worldwide, let everybody hear in his own voice how he wants to sleep with his own daughter, how he likes to look at little 14-year-olds naked, and how he likes to grab women by the private part.
You know what?
Nobody could deny his voice.
I might put your call. I might put this call in the promo. Yeah, I like this call. I like the way you think, my friend.
But what I'm saying is we got to pull out the big guns.
I understand.
Because everybody's thinking I believe his words. I believe everything he says.
Yeah.
Well, then they got to believe what he said.
I hear you.
Words.
I'm going to take that under.
Then you could defeat every other person.
I like it.
When they say, "Oh, Trump said this, Trump said that,"
yeah.
you can say, "Yeah, you believe Satan's son," and not
Satan's son.
We need you talking to people.
I like orange turd a little better, but Satan's son is something that I will definitely put under advisement, and maybe I'll put a little collage together, a montage, for lack of a better word.
Jason should be talking to people. Like you should be out there.
Kenny, I got about
yelling people up.
I got about 30 seconds for you, Kenny. I'm running against the clock here. Go ahead, my friend.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Kenny, quickly.
I'm glad Kamala Harris picked Tim Walz, our governor from Minnesota, and he's a good guy and have a good family.
Well, I agree with everything you said, Kenny. I appreciate your perspective, and I think time will tell, but I have nothing against this guy, Walz. He seems like a good man. Do we have anybody else quickly? 30 seconds, Armando. Go right ahead.
Oh, yeah, Brian. But I want to make an analogy with Kamala's pick with poker, because I'm learning how to play poker, the Texas Hold'em poker. Okay? I don't know if it's going to be any good.
Okay, well, I'm all in. I'm all in with Kamala Harris. I hope you are too.
Anyway, look, if you're in Texas Hold'em poker, right, you get random cards, and then all that. Let's say your whole cards are Vance and Trump, and mine are Harris and Watts,
yes.
W-A-T-Z.
Yes.
And then they're going to Philadelphia. Is it Joshua Shapiro?
Yes,
is the guy?
Josh Shapiro, yes. Governor.
And he's going to be the keynote introduced him and all that. So he's going to push the needle forward for Kamala.
Well, let me say this in closing, because I'm sorry we're up against the clock. The hand that Donald Trump is deuce 7 offsuit. This is a poker analogy, and Kamala Harris is ace king suited. So I believe Kamala's going to win. I believe ace king wins.
Me too.
And up against the clock. Ileana, thank you so much for being here,
Thank
as
you so
always.
much for having me.
On a very busy news day. I didn't expect that I was going to be here today. I am.
I'm so glad you are.
Yes, and I'm glad I was able to do the show and take as many calls as I took. And I will say this in closing: we will have all the coverage from the rally in Philadelphia today. And what better person to talk about it than the very own Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. So appreciate all of you very much. Check out my website. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Ileana, for being here. And hopefully no more kidney stones for me, and I will see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www